Hello and welcome back. In the last video, we created the random experiences, random education. Now we'll go ahead and make use of them. Okay, let's change this to country. Okay, so right at the top, I'll create a function, seller async requests of type requests and response of type response. Okay, it returns a promise of type void. Okay, so first we need to get the count variable const. This is going to be count from request.params. Okay, and now we need to get random bias. Okay, so because those bias will have to be converted to sellers. Okay, so I'll get random bias. So const bias of type I buyer documents, which is going to be an array, is equal to await get random bias. The count, so this is going to be pass int count and then the radius. Okay, that is the base. Okay, so the count, because it's coming from request of params, it's going to come as a string, so we need to cast it back to a number or an integer. Okay, so we want to get random bias because it's the bias that will be converted to sellers. Okay, now let us loop through the count, or we can loop through the bias. Okay, so I'll say let I equal to 0, I less than bias dot length, and then I plus plus. Okay, so we want to loop through the bias, so whatever is returned. Okay, so if we pass in 10, this should be an array of 10 items. Okay, now I'll const buyer, so each buyer will be stored in this buyer property equals to buyers at index I. Okay, now we need to check if the buyer that is being added has already been added as a seller. Okay, if the buyer has already been added as a seller, so const check if seller exists, I seller documents or null equal to await. We get seller by email. Okay, so whatever buyer was selected, that at least in the first loop, we want to check if that buyer has already been converted to a seller. Okay, so I'll add this. This is going to be buyer.email. Okay, and then if it returns an object, that means the buyer already exists. So true new bad request error, and then I'll say seller already exists. Okay, and then here is going to be seller seed, seller method error. Okay, but if no the buyer has not been created as a seller, then const basic description. Basic description is going to be of type string, and I will use faker.commerce.product description. Okay, and then we set the skills, const skills. These are properties that we want to add to the database. Okay, then we want to set the skills. The skills is going to be a string array. Here I can hard code it so that we then randomly select. Okay, so I'll pause the video and then add the skills. You can add whatever skills right here. Okay, so for the skills, you can say programming, web development, mobile, proofreading, UI, UX, data science, financial modeling. You can add as many as you want. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to randomly select from this skills array. Now let's construct our seller object, I seller document. Okay, So profile public ID, and we are going to use, let's import from UUID. So v4 as UUID v4. Okay, from UUID. Okay, so now we copy this. Product ID will be UUID v4 method. Full name faker.person.full name, not first name but full name. Username will be buyer.username. Okay, and then email will be buyer.email. Then profile picture will be buyer.profile picture. And then description. Okay, now for the description, I want to use a certain probably number of words. So I can say if basic description dot length is less than or equal to 250, then I will use basic description. So here, because it can, this basic description, Faker can generate very large basic description or less. So we want to check if it's less than or equal to 250, then use it. Otherwise, we use basic description dot slice. We just want to get the first 250 characters. Okay, so I don't want it to be more than 250. And then I'll set the one-liner. This will be faker.word.words. And then here we specify the count. Okay, so it should be have a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 10. Okay, so this is what we are using. This is just from Faker. Okay, and then the skills. Now these skills that I created right here, what I want to do is I want to randomly select. Okay, so I'll say sample size from Lodash. So sample size. Okay, and then I want to select from the skills array. And now how many? I don't want to hard code it. I want to also randomly select the number. So I'll use sample from Lodash as well, 1 and 4. So what is going to happen is this sample method will randomly create a number between 1 and 4. Okay, so either 1 or 3 or 4, or between 1 and 4. And then here, that is going to be the number of skills that will be selected from this skills array. Okay, and then we have the languages. So the languages, I think I'm going to hard code. Okay, so I'm going to hard code this language. I'll set it to English, and then the level I'm going to set it to native. I'll add 2 other languages. This is going to be Spanish. I can say basic, and German. I can say basic as well. Okay, so this is just going to be the same for every user. If you want, you can create a list so that it randomly selects from it. For me, I will just hard code it. Okay, so you can use the sample size. You can create a list just like how we did with these skills, and then just create use the sample size so that for every loop, it's going to randomly select the language or languages to use. Okay, and then response time. Now this response time, I'm going to use pass int, and then faker.commerce.price. So it has this price method that returns a number or a string. So we need to convert it to an integer, and then we can specify from which the minimum and the maximum it should select from. Okay, so the minimum of the response time should be 1, and the maximum should be 5. Okay, and then the decrement value should be 0. Okay, and then I want to set the experience. So experience pass int, or rather before we call pass int, I'll call random experiences, and then here I'm going to call, let me use this pass int right here. Okay, so between 2 and 4. Okay, the counts. So like if this pass int faker commerce price returns 2, then it's going to add 2 experiences to the list. If it is 3, it's going to add 3 experiences. So we are setting the value between 2 and 4. And then the same goes for the education. It's going to be education, and then here I will select education between 2 and 4 as well. And then let's add the social links. So I will hard code it, social links. I will use HTTPS for kickchartsapp.com. You can add HTTPS, and later on when a user logs in, they can update this. I can say youtube.com HTTPS facebook.com. Okay, so these are hard coded. Last property I want to add is the certificates, and I'm going to hard code that one as well. So I'll paste it. Okay, so I'm just hard coding it. You can go ahead and just create and then randomly select. Okay, so I will just hard code this object because it needs name, from, and year. Okay, so probably I think this should be something different. Yeah, we can leave it, and then when we log in a user, we can update. Okay, so but here should be probably, let's say Flutter Academy. Okay, from where the certificate was issued from. Okay, here I could say from Apple as an example. Okay, I will leave the other one like this. Okay, so now we have the seller method. I think these are all the properties that we need. Okay, now let's just go ahead and use the create seller. So let me close this. Down here I'll call await create seller, and then I'll pass in the seller. And then here outside I can do res.status codes dot created dot JSON message is going to be sellers created successfully. Okay, right here we don't need to send anything else to the front end. Now we need to export this. I think I need to add install missing packages. I will manually install. If you hover, it says we need to install the types, so I will install that. Okay, but for now let us export seller. Okay, so I will go ahead and install the types. Let me open this and then install the types. Okay, I'll enter this. Okay, I have it installed. I can close this. Let me see, why am I still getting an error? Probably country is missing. Okay, it says country is missing. Okay, seems like country is missing. So I can say country. This is going to be faker.location.country. Okay, and I think the issue is fixed. Okay, so now let me just use it, add it to the route, so to the seller route. Not here, but here. Okay, I will just create one more function. I'll call this seller, but it's going to be seed/count. Now we need to update, I think to just be, let me call it seed. Okay, to just avoid any conflicts, I'll call this seed, and then here I'll import this seed method. Okay, so now we have the seed method to seed sellers data to our database. In the next video, we add all of these controllers to the API gateway service.